Hi guys,
Hello.
Welcome to this rendition of Myatt Reviews. This week we are going to be talking the new movie Captain America Civil War. I am joined by Jonah, a good friend of mine.
Hello.
And I'm so excited to talk about this, so let's get going. Okay. So, today we are here.
This movie left us speechless.
It did, even though I had seen it. I saw it like a month ago. But so I really wanted to do a spoiler review because I think if there's any movie that we can spoil the heck out of without pissing too many people off, it's Civil War. So if you guys haven't seen it yet,
Shame on you.
Make sure you stop it right now.
If you have a wife and kids, I'm sorry, you probably have a life. We don't. But like,
I've seen it 4 times.
I've seen it 4. You have?
Yeah.
I've seen it 4 times too.
Aw,
We're
buddy.
twins. But Jonah, he's a good friend of mine, and I've known him. I've been trying to get him in a video for a long time. Sometimes I've just been a lousy person and I've forgotten to. But right now we have him here, and why don't we start off with you, Jonah? What did you think of this movie?
Okay, what did I think of this film? What didn't I think about this film? Honestly, this movie was everything that I could have hoped for. Honestly, I was kind of worried just because I hadn't seen a Marvel film with so many different characters, and I was really worried because after the atrocious way they portrayed Hawkeye in Avengers 1, and then the way they kind of kicked Thor out of the film in Avengers 2, I was pretty disappointed. I was very wary.
Right.
So with a bigger cast, like an ensemble cast, I was really looking forward to seeing how they would get the timing down with each of the characters. I think they did that beautifully. Russo brothers once again proved just how incredible they are when it comes to filmmaking, and in my opinion, it was by far the best Marvel film to date. Winter Soldier is a close second.
Great
but
movie.
Just in seeing how they developed each of the characters and the relationships between the characters and how the characters really cared for each other, but that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't conflict.
Right.
I loved that whole dynamic.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. And I mean, there are flaws. We'll get into that later. But flaws aside, like I said, I've seen this 4 times, and there's very few movies. Actually, the only 2 Marvel movies that each time I see, 3. The movies from Marvel that each time I see get better are Guardians of the Galaxy, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War. And on one hand, yes, they do such an amazing job at balancing all these characters, but putting Captain America on the center front. So if they have any advantage that the Avengers movie don't, is that they have a main character, so it makes it a little easier, but not as much. But like I said, Black Panther kicks butt. He's so good. Spider-Man, probably the best and truest incarnation yet, and the screenwriters do this magnificent job at giving each and every character a moment to shine. But at the heart of it, even though the action is probably the best it's ever been, at the heart of it, you have this movie, the most emotionally and storyline most depth I've seen in any Marvel movie, with like the most fascinating moments for me when Tony Stark and Steve Rogers were just talking, and each scene it just escalates a little more. The first scene they're talking and they're like, all right, each time someone says something and makes a point, you kind of switch sides a little bit.
Yeah,
like that's a good point. But in the second scene,
and even then they were like super like chill about it. Like they weren't like forcing it down each other's throats.
It was such a subtle thing. And my favorite scene was in the second time they were talking at each other, and you could tell that Tony Stark is trying to get Steve Rogers to join his side by toning his views down. He just wants them to get along.
Right.
But then, this is spoilers, so Captain America finds out that Tony Stark has been keeping Scarlet Witch in confinement. And that's the moment where it's just like things get a little more hectic. And I just love the banter. Both of them are played so well.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth.
That was a great line. Better than Wyatt.
So definitely in the top 10 for this movie. Definitely in the top 10. Not top 5. It's actually, this is my 6th favorite Marvel movie.
Dang.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like Ant-Man more?
I liked the first Avengers. I liked Winter Soldier more than this. I liked Guardians, and then there's a couple other movies in there that I was thinking about. But I still does not mean that I didn't love it at all. Like I didn't like dislike it in one bit. I loved this movie a lot. I went in, and this is the same thing that I've gone into a couple movies with, and that was with way too high expectations. So high that there's almost no way that it could be fully fulfilled. So that's why I was, it didn't, I think it will, like Miles says, like after like rewatching it, it will, I think, reach like a level of like how I enjoy Winter Soldier.
Right.
But how I went into Winter Soldier was after like the first Captain America. I was like, oh, okay, this will be fun. And then it blew my mind. I love Winter Soldier so much. But yeah, I mean, dude, Captain America, I was on his side. What a boss.
Wait. Were we all Team Cap?
I was Team Cap. He was Team Iron Man.
No, I was Team Cap.
Oh,
okay. What are you talking about?
I thought, dude, didn't say anything. But just to finish up my thoughts, yeah, I loved it. I walked out smiling. So much action, so much excitement. A good story too.
So well written.
That was I guess, if that was the thing that like I like was a little like underwhelmed by, was the like amount of story versus the amount of action. But I'm not saying that that's bad. In fact, I actually now rewatching it. Rewatching it 3 times after the one time I saw it. Like I've seen, like I clearly love this movie. But after seeing it, I'm like, all right, this story is super good.
Yeah.
The first time it hit, I was like, whoa, it's a lot of story.
And I think, you're actually right, because I know a lot of people who, when they saw it, I think the marketing it really focuses on the big brawl between all the characters, which get me wrong, is effing phenomenal. But I think a lot of people have said that, wow, this is really slow. I was really bored. Yeah. But just soak it in. Soak how good they set it up, because without that slowness, without that build, without the character moments, the ending doesn't work. The fights don't work, and you wouldn't believe in it like you did.
And you don't understand the conflicts that each of the characters are having. One point that I would love to make, by the way.
Yeah, please.
I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt.
Wow.
He's so cool.
With Spider-Man, I loved what they did. I love that they didn't do an origin story. I love that.
Yeah, he was already created.
I love that he was already a set character. How spoiler alert, when Tony Stark goes to visit Peter Parker.
Hot at me.
By the way, that was super funny. How
Iron Man was like,
you're surprisingly hot aunt. But when he's talking to Spider-Man and he pulls up a YouTube video of Spider-Man saving the day, I loved that. I loved how he was an established character, and I loved how they portrayed him as a teenager. Before we've had Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, both were
pretty
older. I mean, yeah, they did look younger, but they were both older.
Yeah.
And I loved how we got the sense that he's an actual teenager, and the silly banter that he has during the fight with Captain America when he's saying "Where are you from, kid? You got heart." And Spider-Man responds with
Queens.
"I'm from Queens," and Cap's "I'm from Brooklyn." And I loved that stuff.
You can make another point on that too, that I was kind of expecting that they would make it so that all these secondary characters like Ant-Man and Spider-Man also just get as emotionally invested as Captain Iron Man do, but realistically they wouldn't, because they're these guys that are kind of thrown into it. So they add these moments of legit longevity.
That brings out another thought for me. And this is still the first time I watched it, the first reaction. I was when a lot of them were fighting, except for Captain America, Iron Man, War Machine, and Falcon, the main ones, and
Black Panther,
and I guess Winter Soldier, Bucky. I felt like most of them were just fighting for fun. They're oh, this is good practice. This is fun, guys.
What was the line where it was are we still friends?
Yeah. Hawkeye, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch. I know Vision. I knew you could just see that they weren't in it. And low key, the fourth time I saw this movie, I was gonna say this when he was talking about the action scene. I was super tired. And so I was I'm literally getting up and leaving right after the action scene. So after the big fight, I got up, went home, went to sleep.
Okay, can we just talk for a second about Giant Man?
Oh yeah.
All right, that was fun.
I'm glad they did not.
Spoiler alert: Giant Man makes an appearance.
Buddy, the whole thing's a spoiler alert.
Yeah, but still, you still gotta say it. Just
I know, I get you.
Yeah. But oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I loved that.
The Russo brothers in the Winter Soldier is all hand-to-hand combat, and when the spectacle moments happened, that was when I was the most taken out of the Winter Soldier, the finale. But with this, they just nail spectacle. But I want to add this point too, is that what I loved about this is the first time a Marvel movie has done this, but the finale doesn't get bigger. but it gets smaller. It's between 3 people, and it focuses on what the movie is about. Captain America, Iron Man, and Bucky. And it's not... That scene's kind of horrifying.
Oh,
it's like when they're bleeding and...
When we watched that video where we see the Winter Soldier actually...
Oh, yeah.
When we see the recording of Winter Soldier killing Mr. and Mrs. Stark, Tony's parents, that was so gut-wrenching because everyone in the audience knew that Bucky had no control over this, but he still did it. And it didn't matter.
Oh, you felt so bad. You're like, Iron Man, don't do it. Yeah, I know. I get
but at the same time, you're like, if that was me...
That's a child's, like, pain...
Yeah.
In an adult body. Like, that just, like...
And it makes sense for Tony Stark, too, because he's always been kind of reckless. He's been... Yeah, it's like...
I love that dynamic where... Because going throughout this film, you think that big... Throughout the trailers, you saw the scene where it's Bucky and Cap versus Iron Man. And in that... The way they portrayed that, you think, oh, this is just another fight scene.
Right.
But in the movie, that's like the catalyst.
Yeah.
That's like all the emotional... damaged goods, everything like emotional turmoil is like embodied in that fight, and it's
you think that was like a breakaway from like the main fight, but it's actually like that, like what it all comes down to.
That's what it's about.
All right, so we've set our points.
Like the villain.
We should talk about.
I do want to talk about the villain because initially, having seen the film, I thought he was just going to be a run of the mill. Villain who super forgettable, like Obadiah Stane in Iron Man 1, Whiplash in Iron Man 2, just kind of these villains that were kind of thrown in there from the comics that no one really cares about. This villain, Baron Zemo, I really thought he did well.
And I know that you might have... I feel like I'm gauging at what you're going to say, and before we get to that... I think this is another thing of subverted, not bad expectations, but subverting expectations, because I thought this guy was going to have these insane superpowers and seeing the look, and I was initially very disappointed. That was my only complaint coming out of it, but each time I rewatch it, I mean, the actor Daniel Bruhl does such a good job at carrying this emotional weight, but he's such the perfect villain to not take away the spotlight, but when he's there, you understand... At least from my perspective, I understood each and every decision he made, and the reveal that he was listening to the voicemail of his dead wife, that sucks. Like every villain in this movie is a result of the Avengers' destruction. Crossbones, Daniel Bruhl, and it just adds to the theme. But
I was gonna say we should get to the ratings.
Yes, before that, real quick question: what was your guys' favorite character in this movie?
In this movie.
You might have to edit this because it's gonna take a little while.
All right, I'm gonna give it a ranking. Number 1, Spider-Man for emotional reasons. Number 2, Black Panther. Yeah. Number 3, Ant-Man, because everything he spews out is gold. Those are like out of the secondary.
So top 3 then? We're doing top 3.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'm just gonna throw 3 out there.
Just throw 3 out there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to go first?
No, you go for it.
Okay. 1, Captain America. And this is for personal reasons because, honestly, going into Winter Soldier, he was one of my least favorite Avengers. I thought he was kind of just there just for, like, nerd status. Like,
right.
Throw him in there because nerds love him. But, like, with Winter Soldier and continuing into Civil War, like, you actually, like, care about him and you like him as a character.
Yeah.
Second, Spider-Man. Definitely, I
Holy
cannot.
Shit.
I cannot get over how well done they portrayed Spider-Man. Like they did it so well. Side note, I actually wasn't a big fan of Black Panther.
What?
Yeah. Like I don't know. I felt like.
Careful, you might get shot by someone who's
I'm apologizing ahead of time.
Let's talk about. We'll deal with this after, right?
Yeah, afterwards. Take me in.
I mean, it's a shock to me.
Take me to the woodshed.
Sorry.
What were yours?
One more like Ant-Man.
So funny.
Same exact reason. Every single line of his is gold. I'm shaking your hand too long, aren't I? I loved that.
All right,
loved that.
Scarlet Witch.
For
where's this girl? All right,
obvious reasons.
All right, but on top of the just obvious reasons, They toned down her
accent,
which was really good.
Thankfully,
you could feel how emotional she was, like when she destroyed all. She was like, huh? And she's like, she's like, this is who I have to be now, and like
that, and you know what? You actually felt for the character.
Yeah, I was like, oh. I mean, while I'm looking at you and thinking about how gorgeous you are, I also feel super bad for you.
By the way, the event we're speaking about is when Crossbones essentially turns into a suicide bomber, tries to kill Cap. Scarlet Witch saves him by
throwing him into a building, blowing up the whole thing.
Sadly, there are people in it. Victims died.
That happens.
But you feel bad for him.
So what were your other two?
My other two, Captain America was on it.
Okay, that was the best Chris Evans performance as Captain America.
Oh, by far. And
then Iron Man. Iron Man, because of... Dang, I looked at him and I almost like look at how I look at my like store manager, like I'm just like, oh my gosh,
so much
should be
weight
dead
is
right
on
now.
him.
Yeah.
And you're right, like...
You saw him vulnerable for the first time since, like, the first movie.
And with the exception of Black Panther for Jonah, I think we'd all agree that almost every character is great.
Oh, yeah.
Vision, all these people.
Well, no, even Black Panther was great.
Not as much as everyone else.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we're running out of time here, so let's get to a quick, out of 5 stars, what would you rate this?
Ooh, out of 5 stars?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give it a 6.
Absolutely.
I thought,
I was thinking 6 out of 10. I was like,
oh no, 6 out of 5. Like by far, one of my favorite. Honestly, probably my favorite film of the year.
Wow.
Probably my favorite film of the year. So loved this film. Go see it if you haven't. It's a sin if you haven't.
Yeah, and even if you're not super into comic book movies, because of obvious reasons, because they can get overcluded, this is the one that I think you can enjoy, because it's fun, but it's also character-driven. I will say it is my favorite Marvel movie. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
You know me, not as generous, still loved it, 3.8 out of 5.
That's good for you.
It's good for me, yeah.
Still not better than Forrest Gump, though.
Forrest Gump is a 4.7 out of 5.
I'm not going to argue. But yeah. All right, so in closing, thank you guys so much for checking out this discussion. I wish we could talk forever about this, but we have lives.
I'm looking down, it's like 17 minutes. I'm like, dude, wow.
It's going to be a podcast, basically. Thank you, Wyatt, for helping me with these Myatt reviews. And Jonah, what's your channel? Your YouTube? You have YouTube videos, right?
I do. Thank you for giving me this spot. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you for inviting me and having me on this. I love
You did well.
Thank
just
you.
joking. We're just gonna cut him off.
Every point it makes.
Just use my voice. If you edit it to make my voice sound like Darth Vader, I'm okay with that.
Kylo Ren's mask.
Yeah, Kylo Ren.
Drugs.
My YouTube channel is Shadow Movie and Story Productions.
Filmmaker guy right
here. Film student.
Film guy.
I'd love to have you check it out. I love having the support of you, my two fellow film buffs. And I look forward to doing stuff in the future. So. Yeah,
all right. Go, subscribe, like our video, come back.
Do so.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I gotta pee.
I'm gonna keep that in.